I thought about writing this down on the whiteboard, but it would just be a couple of words on the whiteboard as a visual reminder. I don't think that's going to be necessary here. I don't have any fancy flowcharts or anything for you because that would honestly turn into an absolutely massive project. What I really want to talk about here, though, is the fact that when you have a technique or a technique sequence that you want to employ, you have to understand that there are, in fact, phases to even a simple technique like a punch, right? There are phases to these things because it's not as simple as I punch. Now, it is, but also if you want to be tricky, if you want to be more of a magician, if you want to have a more technical game, then understanding kind of the phasic structure of how these things go can be really, really, really useful. Now, and I'm not talking about the phenomenon of like your nervous system has made a decision before you're consciously aware of it. I mean, that's cool, but it's not really something that's terribly actionable. So while that would technically be a phase of things, the only thing that you can really do with that is just to train in a way that you're giving away as little as possible with your technique, so that when you make the decision to employ the technique, you're not giving things away before you even realize you've done that. No, what I'm talking about is the fact that the technique is going to have a phase of entry before it lands. It is going to have the phase of when it actually lands. And this would apply to grappling as well as striking, but for now I'm talking about striking. And during its landing phase, right, you have things to consider. And then it's also going to have the retraction, right, the retreat phase, which may or may not have something else attached to it, right? So you have at least three distinct phases, and we're not going to worry about some saggy middles or anything here, because like that at some point you get too convoluted. But I want you to think of it in that sense. You have an entry, you have the actual landing, and you have the retreat phase. Now, retreat or retraction is really not even necessarily the best term for it. Let's call it the exit phase. So here's the thing. When a technique is entering, it's going to take a certain amount of time. Depending on what that technique is, it may be extremely fast and it could be very slow. And it could take you a while to, you could need to do a setup to get to the entry phase, right? So there's even like a pre-entry phase. So you can play with that idea. Now, the simplest of these is the landing phase, right? When the technique actually hits, what are you doing, right? And your considerations there are largely going to be like, do you have the correct body structure? Do you have the correct positioning? All of that kind of stuff, to make sure that it employs the effect that you're trying to. And then, of course, the exit phase is, are you exiting from the technique in a way that allows you to continue to be safe, that allows you to continue defending yourself if necessary, that allows you to throw the next technique if necessary, whatnot. So one of the things that we have to consider here is the fact that at any of these phases, your opponent may have a defense waiting and ready, or incidentally. Your opponent is every bit as much of a free agent as you are. I mean, we all live under relatively the same human condition when you're talking existentially. And that means that your opponent is going to be making decisions based off of the information that he has about you, including the decisions that you have made and that he has been able to suss out. Which means that one of the best tricks you can have up your sleeve is having multiple entries for the same landing, the same finish, right? The same end point of the technique creating effect, but also having multiple finishes for the same entry. And that way, if you notice that your opponent changes from your expectations, you have a plan B, plan C, whatever. And so having multiple entries and multiple finishes can be useful. And, of course, multiple exits can be useful as well. You definitely should be able to bail into a pure defense, bail into movement, bail into a secondary offense, whatever, right? You should be able to change your expectations at any given moment. I mean, that's part of what fighting is. But I want you to think of this, right? And we've talked about this. If you take the idea of like, well, I throw all of my standard boxing punches with the same entry. What you have now done is created multiple finishes for the same entry. Well, you can flip that, right? And you can actually have multiple entries for the same finish. Let's say you're throwing a jab. Well, multiple entries you could start that with going from each of the different kinds of guards, right? You could go from a shell, you could go from a peekaboo, you could go from a middle guard, from a high guard, from a long guard, from an orthodox guard, from a southpaw, right? From some of the more fun stances, from some of the more traditional arts and all of that. You can go from different guards. Now, it doesn't always have to be from a different guard. It could be from just from like, my hand was here, this is what I'm doing, right? So you could have multiple entries for the same technique, right? You should be able to throw that lead hand straight punch from a variety of positions and body structures. And just like you should be able to throw the variety of punches that you throw from any given point. And now that may mean certain setups, that may mean certain movement, whatever. But the fact is that having multiple entries and multiple finishes is a really, really powerful concept. So yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point. Like I said, there's no big spreadsheet or anything on this, because you just have to sit there and play with this stuff and kind of figure it out. Don't just do everything from an orthodox guard and expect it to translate. Like, do things from a variety of guards. Now, look, if you have trained yourself to exclusively fight orthodox, then I guess do that. But a lot of us, especially when you get into the world of MMA and more lenient styles of kickboxing and stuff, your hands are going to be operating in multiple planes of action. Your body structure is going to be operating in multiple planes of action. You have to be able to throw your techniques from unorthodox positions. And so I think it is important to at least identify the broad strokes and kind of figure out how you're going to do that, so that you can do it in a way that provides a consistent result despite having, disparate factors affecting it. So yeah, multiple entries and multiple finishes, and you'll end up creating this really cool network of like, oh, I can go here from there. And that is a really powerful tool, just having this massive roadmap of how things connect, and in some cases how things don't connect. So anyway, that's all I've got to say, and I will talk to you guys later. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Share this with your friends or anybody else who might be interested in this kind of content. If you happen to be in the Metro Phoenix area, come in for a class or just stop in to say hi. We'd love to meet you. Definitely check out our socials and our website that has all of our contact information and all of the other relevant information. And more than anything, check out our Substack. Our Substack will be containing all of the links that we use to cite and reference in our videos, as well as exclusive training content that will be available for premium members. Memberships are cheap, but you can also sign up for free, and we do have articles for free, and we will have more free articles available for you. It is a fantastic platform for what we're doing here, and we hope to see you over there. So I will talk to you guys later, and look out for the next one. Good journey.